Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to this webinar session on the Governance and Migration and Diversity track at ISS. My name is Darren, and I'm responsible for the recruitment of the Masters in Development Studies at ISS. We have two students here today, and of course, the course leader, Nanneke, the two students, Nodoka and Grace.
So hello, everyone. My name is Nanneke Winters. I'm assistant professor in migration and development at ISS, and as Darren mentioned, also the course leader for the Governance of Migration and Diversity track. With me today are two lovely students.
Hi everyone, my name is Nodoka. I'm originally from Japan. I've joined this GMD track since the last September, and I'm enjoying my life here.
Hi everyone, my name is Grace Forrest. I'm originally Australian American, and I've been here actually since the fall of 2023, and I follow the program part-time, and I will be ending also this December with Nodoka.
This track is a bit special and a bit complicated, so we will take a bit of time to explain what it is all about. So here on the screen you see a few abbreviations that are important for understanding how this track works before we move to more the content related issues. So it is a track that is part of an inter-university, interdepartmental collaboration within the umbrella or under the umbrella of the LDE, which is the Leiden, Delft, Erasmus universities. And you will see those universities coming back in this presentation because these are the places that our students travel to and follow studies. So the GMD itself is a collaborative teaching program. And at ISS, the GMD migration track would lead to a Master in Development Studies. So ISS is the International Institute of Social Studies, which is part of Erasmus University Rotterdam, but it is not based in Rotterdam. It is based in The Hague, or as we would like to call it, Erasmus by the Sea. So if you were to follow this track, the Governance of Migration and Diversity, at ISS, you would follow the course Migration and Development. But then at the other universities and departments, you would follow a choice of the following courses, which is Politics of Migration, Sociology of Migration, both taking place in Rotterdam, the History of Migration from University of Leiden, also Legal Perspectives of Migration and Diversity from Leiden Law School, and finally the course Social Inequality in the City, Diversity and Design at Delft University. So this is basically a list of courses that you can follow at the different universities, but there is also a joint component that all students that do GMD follow. You follow different courses at different universities and different departments, and here you can see some of the distances that this involves. In practice, the first part of the studies, so the first semester between September and December, you would be traveling quite a lot between these universities. The travel in the from January onwards, so in the second semester, would be less. You would do most courses in The Hague. Now, this traveling, on the one hand, it can be a bit complicated. It does take a bit of time, a bit of organization. At the same time, it's also very interesting to see these different universities and experience life in different university cities. And there will be a partial reimbursement of this travel for our GMD students.
Once you get into the rhythm of it, it's actually very nice to be outside of the ISS bubble. It's really nice to have a mix of two worlds. You have ISS and the other majors in development studies here based at the ISS, but then you get a whole nother group of people that you get to meet and experience outside, whether that be at Delft or Leiden or Rotterdam. And it's been really great. Also, there's other opportunities, for example, that we get in being able to travel. Like, for example, we've gone to Brussels with the LDE program as well. And yeah, I find it quite nice to be able to break up your week to sometimes be in Rotterdam, sometimes be in Leiden, sometimes be in The Hague. It's nice. It gives you a way to see a lot of South Holland.
More from the academic standpoint, it was very helpful for me to explore the different academic modules in different university. I personally think that the development studies in the ISS largely focuses on the just the development studies, so that we do have lots of international students, but most of them are from outside of the Europe. But once I get into the community of the Leiden University or the Erasmus University and the Rotterdam campus, I could see more people from who has the European background. So it was very helpful for me to see the different world outside of the ISS as well.
Of course, the main pillar of your studies would be at ISS. And here we have a specific interpretation of migration, as Nodoka also mentioned, from a development perspective. And this means that we do not really work with pre-established migration categories, for example. We assume that people actually move for a different variety of reasons. So we include in our courses both things like labor migration, but also displacement, refugee issues, illegalization of migrants, people on the move for extended periods of time. A few thematic dimensions that we find very important are livelihoods. So people's livelihoods, how they make a sense of and how they gain a living in relation to migration in different ways across different kinds of borders, and also often situated in families and communities. We also work a lot with the concept of human security, where we say that an emphasis nowadays is very much on the security of nation states and how to protect borders. And we would like to turn it around and start from people's own security as human beings, both those of migrants, the security of migrants, as well as the people that they cross paths with and communities that host migrants. Our approach is mainly multidimensional, as can be deduced from this slide, but also intersectional. So we also look at the inequalities, the structural inequalities that make that people are positioned in certain ways based, for example, on their racialized and gendered identities. The first part is the joint GMD program. This is, if I'm not mistaken, taking place in Rotterdam, right, Nodoka and Grace? Yes, so this is in Rotterdam. This is a first part of the program, and this is where you indeed will get to know different disciplines within migration studies. It focuses on the governance of migration, and very interestingly, as Grace also already mentioned, this includes then site visits to, for example, Brussels, in order to get a better sense of what this governance means on the ground. We have next to the core course, you would follow the migration and development course at ISS, and then you have other GMD courses that were listed in the beginning about politics, sociology, history, etc., that you can then choose from. But at ISS itself, there's also courses you will choose from. And here are a few of them listed to give kind of an impression of the diversity of courses on offer at ISS that you will be able to take within the GMD track, such as gender at work, humanitarian actions, but also, for example, courses on decoloniality. At ISS, since we have a 15-month program, we have ample room for developing your own research and writing your own research paper. That is also why we find it very important to emphasize methodological courses. Also, actually, the ethics of research that comes back in different courses at ISS. But for research techniques, you can choose courses that interest you or that you find necessary for developing your research, such as qualitative interviewing or participatory action research or mixed methods.
We're actually on the process of drafting our design, research design. Personally, I haven't decided the details yet, but maybe I can share my topic as an example. I'm trying to explore the role of the foreign aid in the governance of migration in an Asian context. I found that it's particularly interesting to do this research as a part of my academic trajectory and the development and the migration, because I'm originally from Japan, and I have involved in the kind of migration authorities authority in Japan. And I was also experiencing some project related to the development aid from Japan to other Southeast Asian countries. So I just found that it's very interesting to utilize the knowledge that I learned from the migration and development course, which is more like based in the like European-based context, but I'm trying to apply those theories to the Asian context.
I'm currently taking participatory action research and qualitative interviewing. And one of the things that I love the most about the courses is how practical they are. Of course, there is theory, and you can do that in the readings, but the professors really emphasize on the fact that this is your trial run to do what you can with the ideas that you have for your research paper in the classes. So you can already get a heads up before you start actually doing it for real and gathering your data. And I'm really happy with it. I especially know, like in other universities, when you do like these type of research courses that can be a bit too theoretical. And so I'm definitely very happy.
We already heard about a possible research from Nodoka. These are some of the examples of students, former GMD students, have successfully graduated from ISS. As you can see, there's a big diversity of topics presented here. Within the GMD team, we have expertise to supervise these kinds of topics. There's a possibility to do research around a very specific concern that you already know is relevant for different stakeholders, and that you can also present in a neighborhood, get feedback on from people living in a neighborhood, but also from municipality workers who are active in these neighborhoods. So perhaps it's also nice to know that there are possibilities for doing very much locally related, locally relevant research as well within the GMD track at ISS. If you do a Master in Development Studies and then a Governance of Migration and Diversity track, this is obviously already very much specialized. However, if you are interested, we have opportunities to further specialize within ISS, and this is based on following specific courses. So from the other courses that you can still make a choice out of, and also having a specific topic for your research paper. So in the past years, what we've had on offer at ISS is, for example, a specialization related to human rights or women and gender studies or conflict and peace studies. So just to indicate that this is also an option, even if you focus on the migration track. We have different teachers that are involved with supervising and teaching migration topics at ISS, with very different expertise from law and labor to borders, digital communities of migrants, conflict and displacement, humanitarian interventions. So lots of people at ISS that can help you guide your own learning process in this program. Have a diversity of topics, obviously, a diversity of disciplinary approaches, expertise in teaching, but also an incredibly diverse classroom with people from different, not only different nationalities, but also different moments in their careers. And so we try to appreciate that diversity in the classroom and really build on their expertise also for teaching what we are teaching. We strive to be approachable as staff. We strive to be participatory in our classes. And we also organize study visits now and then, because we have a busy program, but we do that. For example, for GMD, we always try to visit IOM, the International Organization for Migration, which has a seat in The Hague. So we always try to do that to get to know their programs.
Essentially, each major chooses as a group in collaboration with the conveners of the course, essentially where they would like to go for a blocked out period that is in the ISS calendar. It's usually in the first week of March. And essentially the majors look together and see what they want to do, where they want to go. Last year, when I was with last batch, many of the majors, including GMD last year, we chose to go to Berlin, and that was really great. We went to a bunch of organizations such as IOM in Berlin, and also Zainab Ghasli, one of the teaching members here at ISS, had connections to projects that they were also doing in Berlin, so we went to visit them as well. This year, we decided to go to Vienna. And yeah, so that we went to go see OSCE, and we had a great time. Part of the Erasmus rule that they do with traveling in order to stay sustainable is that you must only travel by ground to wherever you choose to go. And so we took a night train from here in The Hague to Vienna. And that was super fun. We have a lot of photos and a lot of memories. It was definitely such a great time. We got so lucky with the weather, and honestly, it's probably one of the most memorable times for us this year.
If you are interested in anything related to migration, as I already mentioned, this could be labor, this could be displacement, this could be refugees, this could be reception. This is really a track that will help you with fundamental knowledge about migration and diversity, and it will help you make linkages that you may not have considered before, linkages that are related to development, to inequality, and to justice. So we are thinking of students that would like to work with migrants and refugees themselves, but also with communities characterized by migration, diversity, minoritization also, and also at a different level with organizations and policymakers that also engage with migration and issues of asylum, for example, that obviously in many regions and countries around the world remains an important topic. We are looking for students who have recently graduated as bachelors or as masters, but also those who are working in migration-related fields and who would like to deepen their theoretical knowledge and like to kind of give a boost to their career by joining this study program. As I also already mentioned, GMD is very much interdisciplinary. So you will have teachers and you will have teachings from the disciplines of history, from law, from public administration, sociology, development, of course, very different disciplines that will all have a place in our program.
At the ISS, there's such a wide spread, especially within GMD. I think this year it's split as well, in terms of half who have been here in their professional journey and 2 of us that came after recently graduating their bachelor's. And last year, I think almost everyone, except for maybe one other person, was in the middle of their professional career. And so I think that there's a fit for everyone regardless. And I found very good things like people have talked about the pros of being both and that there's something for everyone in that way. So I don't think that, because that was definitely a worry before I came. I thought that I would maybe be too young or whatnot, but I think that's definitely not the case. I think there's like a perfect balance. It's so interesting to learn from people who have already been doing this, and they're like, wow, I wish I would have done this earlier because it's given me such a new perspective, especially people that come in with more of a policy only or economics only background. But it's just really interesting to hear what they've done and what brought them to this point, and you kind of get to learn from those experiences. And also in return, I've heard from my like more experienced colleagues or peers that they really love to hear like the new insight that we have as people who have just graduated and are experiencing this for the first time. Like I've always said, you learn just as much from being here as you do from being in the classes, I think.
I'm originally from the government of Japan, which is kind of like a very serious and a bureaucratic organization, I would say. But I'm always fascinated by like those who just directly come from the bachelor's program, or like those who used to work in the private sectors or NGOs as well. Even though we're sharing the same spaces at the same classroom and we're talking about the same topics, we all have the different perspectives depending on their background and experiences.
It can be very inspiring to be in a classroom with people who have already worked in policy or who have already worked with certain humanitarian organizations, also to see what that is like. So if you graduate from our program, you will be ready to move into positions at very different levels and also in very different kind of capacities. So an obvious choice is to go into the policy arena. There's lots of need for very well-informed migration experts in the policy arena. But you could also think about becoming part of the team of migration organizations like IOM, development organizations. But you could also think, of course, about studying further, pursuing a PhD, becoming part of a research institute or think tank related to migration and very closely connected fields. ISS is about more than just studying, of course. We already got a glimpse of that when we spoke about the study trip. And I think in the next slide, yes, we have some possibilities for becoming actively involved at ISS in different ways. So these are some pictures from activities we've done before. It includes a slavery tour of Amsterdam. I see this here. I see also a visit to the beach, which is of course possible since we're so close by. But we have also some formal positions for students.
Scholars is
the student council of the ISS.
Yeah, well, Scholars itself is the student body and the student just like engagement. Like we say that everyone is a part of Scholars, and then you have the executive committee, which is the student board. And we've both been on the student board, and the student board also like creates committees for like certain things like social action, sports, social events, gender studies, queer studies. And so it allows everyone to kind of make their own plans. Each committee gets a budget to hold events during the year, and it's some of the best things that we have, and it makes the student body really engaged, and it makes sure that we always have stuff going on.
I really appreciate this opportunities personally, because you can just try to apply the academic knowledge in the real world experiences.
Also mentioned here is the LDE GMD student board. So we are very apart from the activities at ISS, also GMD-wide, so with the different student bodies at the 3 different universities, also activities are organized, and you have the opportunity to become part of that board as well.
I've been living in the Netherlands for almost 6 years now. I originally moved here to do my bachelor's degree, and I've been through multiple institutions here and have lived life here for a long time. And I have to say, in terms of the commitment that ISS makes to their students, is one of the reasons actually I chose it over the other LDE universities in the GMD track as well. For example, free psychological help, very understanding staff. Like we have a welfare office, we have a very small student body, so the conveners really care about you. This year we only have 4 students, and so Nanika and Zainab are very in tune with us. They're very engaged with us. They really care about us succeeding. I would say that's the entirety of ISS. Like professors will go out of their way to help you and be with you as well. I think also it's not guaranteed, but ISS is very helpful in settling into The Hague as well, in terms of like free airport pickup, and as long as you are on top of things and do things very early, housing is easier to get here than other institutions, which I really appreciate. It makes a huge difference. And for me, when I had to choose to make my program part-time, it was way more flexible to do it than if I would have done it at Erasmus or Leiden or Delft.
I think we'll move on now to the Q&A session. For the first question, there's a question about internship, the possibilities of doing an internship and whether it's facilitated at ISS.
So we do not have a fully fledged internship program that will link you to internship opportunities. However, staff really does try to always forward internship opportunities that they receive from their network to students, and staff generally has quite a few good contacts with organizations that generally take interns, such as Oxfam Novib, to link these and to keep people aware of that.
It's important to note that I've been very lucky to do the amount of internships that I have, because I needed to change my program to part-time for other reasons. However, most of the time, I would say that The Hague is a great place to be in for internships. There is a lot of organizations, also just the Netherlands in general. If it's not in The Hague, it'll probably be in either Rotterdam, Amsterdam, or Utrecht, which is all within a 1-hour span of each other. And I do say that people, last year, a lot of people did internships during the last semester. So between September and December, or August and December, when there was no more classes and people were just writing their RP after collecting data. A lot of people chose to do internships. I'm not going to say that it was easy. Last fall, I did intern at Oxfam Novib. And funny enough, when I got there on the first day, 2 of my fellow colleagues were peers in my year at ISS. And that was not planned or verified or like given by ISS, but it does show to the preparation and the rigor and also the name that ISS carries in The Hague and the Netherlands, honestly, international community in terms of reputation. It's not impossible, and I would say a lot of students definitely do it at the end. It's not easy. It does require a lot of time on that part, but like time and planning on your part, but organizations are also very understanding, knowing that you're working on your thesis.
First of all, thank you very much for sharing your experience and explain a little bit more about the program. Basically my question is to understand a little bit if I think it's 2 things. First, if we have a kind of a flexibility to understand our subject of study, and if you are flexible in terms of the time that you have in the master for change subject and see what is actually the area that you most like to study. And part of my second question, it is because I already did a master in Brazil, where I am from, and I basically studied the visibility that the journalism did for Syrian human refugee in Brazil. So basically, I would like to understand if it is possible for me to go to a PhD, or maybe I need to go a master again and see which is, my possibility to study another subject, or of course, like continue studying what I like, but what's the other areas I could amplify my subject. And I would like to listen if it's possible in this course, or better to go to a PhD and continue my research.
It's a bit hard to decide or to say now whether you would kind of already be sufficiently prepared for a PhD, obviously. But in my experience, ISS is really a post-initial master program. So we have lots of students who already have done their masters and come to ISS to do an additional master. And this is in our experience, very enriching because of the level of expertise at ISS, because of the combination of different disciplines. So actually, we see that for most students, also those who already have a master, we're studying at ISS, another master is really worthwhile because it allows you to deepen your theoretical knowledge. And indeed, as you also mentioned, specialize in certain subjects that you would like to get a bit more footing in, that you would like to know more about before moving to the next phase in your career. Now, this being said, when it comes to subjects, yes, there is flexibility. So in the beginning, in this GMD track, you will choose between a few courses that were mentioned. So sociology, politics, sociology of migration, politics of migration, history of migration, legal perspectives, and social inequality in the city. And these courses kind of will help you further deepen your knowledge about the specific approaches or angles to migration. And then in the next semesters, you can choose different courses again that are not necessarily related to migration, but that are in related fields, such as, for example, gender courses or courses about conflict and humanitarian action. And in this way, so there's different moments throughout the year that you can decide on these courses, and that then can help you to kind of deepen the knowledge of specific subjects in the way that your interests are developing as well. And so what we see students do, they build up a certain kind of curriculum for themselves based on their interests, based on their background and expertise, and based on what they would like to do in the future. And then this culminates kind of in the research paper. So in the research paper, you have the opportunity to do fieldwork if you wish to do so. You can also make use of existing data sets. But this is a research that you very much are able to shape yourself. And I cannot emphasize enough how nice it is to see all our different students coming with their different backgrounds and interests, developing that further at ISS and then shaping it into a very specific subject that they are very passionate about. So Said, thanks for your question regarding the diversity component of the migration and diversity track, governance of migration and diversity track. Wherever there is migration and human mobility, diversity will increase. But at the same time, diversity is something that is obviously related to different types of diversity. So it's not just about migration-related diversity, at least at ISS, it's not just about migration-related diversity, but we also have a lot of attention for diversity in terms of gender, for example, diversity in terms of ethnic background, nationality, religious diversity, depending on the courses that you take. Now, within GMD, diversity is mainly related to migration-induced diversity, to say something like that, and to the issues that come with that. So, for example, in different neighborhoods, in the different cities that we study, we see an increased diversity relative to other neighborhoods in the Netherlands that bring with it its own challenges, sometimes also its own advantages in terms of innovation, for example, but also its challenges in terms of living together and in terms of policy and in terms of sometimes social unrest related to different things. And then we can think about issues like first, second, third generation migrants and to what extent they feel at home and accepted in Dutch society. This is just an example of diversity and the topics we could be talking about.
With that, I think we should conclude our presentation for the GMD webinar session. I would like to thank the viewers very much for their time, and we really hope to welcome you in September to the ISS community. I would like to thank everyone for their time, and have a nice day, and see you in September. Bye, everyone.
Thank you, Darren. Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.